All right, here's the last one. I think it's absolutely amazing. You know, if you follow the city council meetings, you'll see that there's really two distinctly different kinds of things that happen. There's things on the consent calendar that they don't want to talk about, and there's things that have public hearings that are supposed to be things that we can embrace the public and we can have things going. Well, this was really interesting because this was a presentation that reminded me of the ad that I see on television of the guy in the dental chair. You know, where they look at him and he says, "Boy, that is a bad cavity." And the guy goes, "Aren't you going to fix it?" And he goes, "Oh, I'm just a dental monitor. You know, I don't fix anything. You know, I just monitor it." So you would expect that if we were going to do something like that, that would be kind of on the consent calendar you could blow through. It wouldn't be something you'd be really proud about that you'd get out and start in the public. But they did. So they came in at the new business city council meeting, September the 12th. Item number 11 for consideration of the whole city was a public safety resolution about taking back our community. Right? Does that sound like we're going to fix it or monitor it? Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. So really what this revolves around was a discussion about the changes that were made by several laws. Some of them were passed up north, some of them were voted on by the public, and those changes are the ones that impact how many people are in jail. Now, Doug knows that I am really a more on the right side of stuff as opposed to the left. And I believe that if you do the crime, you should do the time. Okay, I don't think that's a horrible thing. But we've set up our laws in such a way that we incarcerate so many people for small items that the jails are overcrowded. And they've been that way for a long time. You know, I had a friend years ago, it had to be in the 90s, that this kid got popped for a DUI, got convicted, went to go serve his time in county jail, served 2 hours because they brought him in. They didn't want to put him in the general population, didn't have any place to put him, so they let him loose. So they don't want to spend the money, the state, the local county doesn't want to spend a lot of money to build a lot more jails, so they're trying to figure out how they can have less people in them. Well, instead of going back and looking at why they're putting them in the first place, which I thought would be a really good thing to do, they started out with AB 109, which is a realignment. And what the state said was, I got too many people in my jail, so I'll put them in the county jails. Right? And then what the county jails had to do was they had to release people because they were full. They had to decide which group they were going to release. So they released about 45,000 inmates, and supposedly of lower level criminals. So you can kind of see where this is going. Proposition 47, we approved this as the voters. We took some crimes that used to be felonies and we made them now misdemeanors. And one was shoplifting and forgery fraud that didn't exceed $950. I think there was always a dollar rate that was with, but I guess we lowered the number, or raised the number rather. And then possession of illegal drugs, including cocaine, heroin, and methamphetamine. And I think this is a little misleading because as I remember it, it was a small amount, right? It was, if you had a small amount of illegal drugs, then it was a misdemeanor. They write you a ticket. You know, oh, you have some heroin, let me weigh it, and then if it's the right amount, you get a ticket instead of going to jail. And then there was Proposition 57, and Proposition 57, which allowed the state to provide for early release of 30,000 criminals convicted of nonviolent felonies. Now, they listed these crimes that were classified as nonviolent, but it's a very misleading list because they really said, and it's totally not true. When the staff member was talking about it, he said, "Well, it's really not that reduce these crimes. They're just not specifically identified as felonies. So I guess if you rape somebody, right, I'd think it's still rape whether they were intoxicated or not. I don't know why you need a special category for that. Or if you rape an unconscious person, isn't that still a rape? Right? Human trafficking, involving sex act with minors. I mean, does the law have to be that specific? It's still human trafficking. Now, ADW has always been a real crime. Assault with a deadly weapon. Hate crimes causing physical injury. I would have thought that causing physical injury to somebody would be a crime no matter what it was, whether you hated the person or not. It's kind of like I never could understand why someone would turn around and say, this person got murdered and it was a result of a hate crime, so it should be worse. What could be worse than murdering the person? Right? What could be worse than that? I mean, if that's the ultimate crime, what are you going to do? You're going to do? If you believe in capital punishment, you're going to kill them twice? It just doesn't make sense. So some of this stuff was just to throw it out and get you excited that they've done these horrible things. In addition, offenders who commit multiple crimes against multiple victims may be eligible for release at the same time as offenders who only committed a single crime. So the impact. Now this is something I thought was really interesting, because here they give you the impact of doing this on the state of California. And these are their charts, right? I haven't modified them at all. I'm just representing what got presented to us at City Hall. And if you look at this impact, it says, basically, crime at the state level went up 10%. Isn't that about what it says? 10%? The crime in Santa Clarita, because we're always number one, went up. Arson went up 113%. Grand theft auto by 88%, larceny by 29%, and robbery by 24%. I don't think that's anything to be proud of. Okay? And they talked about the fact that Captain Lewis was doing a great job, and I like Captain Lewis, and he is a no-nonsense police officer, and he is doing things to help us, but you know what? You've got to help him do what he needs to do as well. So taking back our community is a campaign. We're going to create another big, shiny website, and we're going to have a campaign. And what's the campaign going to do? It's going to raise your awareness that crime is occurring. Well, I think that's like monitoring the toothache, because then you got to wait for somebody to go and fix it for you. And so what's happened is this whole presentation brought forth in front of the public to tell the public what to do was simply to support a resolution by the California League of Cities that they want somebody else to start a campaign to raise awareness and educate communities of the negative impact of the current legislation which raises crime. So basically it says, we're not going to do anything about it, you do it. Kind of the same way we're talking about Measure H. City isn't going to go after money. They're going to look at the nonprofits and say, you do it. Right? It's just, to me, the city is supposed to be a dynamic organization, somebody that gets things done, right? Not that tells other people to do it for them. So that was this whole thing, but I think the whole thing is very interesting about the crime statistics going up, and we'll be sure to go look at those crime statistics when they come out again this year. Yes, ma'am.
Should I just ask?
Huh?
A number of years ago when Jake's Way was put in and the housing there brought in a lot of problems, the city purposely kept that area out of the city's boundaries, so those statistics were not counted as part of the Santa Clarita. Then something was done, and I haven't kept up with it. Is Jake's Way now part of the city and
yes, yes, it is.
And it's counted.
Yes, I know exactly what happened. So yes, you're absolutely right. What they wanted to do is they wanted to hold Jake's Way out of the city to hold the statistics down. And I remember when Captain Huh? Becker. That's right. I attended a Santa Clarita Public Safety Subcommittee when Captain Becker was there. And I remember Captain Becker saying, well, I'll tell you what we're going to do. Jake's Way is an issue because there are so many people. We're going to put an extra squad car there going through Jake's Way. And I remember Marshall McLean said, but Jake's Way isn't in the city. And Captain Becker said, I don't care. Crime doesn't stop at the border. So I really appreciated Captain Becker. Okay. And they kept it out of the city until they wanted to annex Vista Canyon Ranch. Fair Oaks, right. But yes, in order to annex Fair Oaks and Vista Canyon, they had to include Jake's Way because they couldn't annex everything around it and create an island.
So then statistics shot up.
Not really. If you believe Becker, and like I said, Becker was going to put an extra law enforcement in the area. He said Jake's Way has more crime than certain other places, but they also have more people. If you look at the ratio of people to crime, it's about the same. Okay? But, and so the statistics, because of that, annexation really didn't jump up. They just, because they're all ratioed. But, yeah, that's what happened with Jake's Way. Yes, you're right. Fair Oaks and then Vista Canyon. Anybody else? Ah, there he goes. That's a very educated gentleman.
Thank you. I completely agree with what you said about Captain Rob Lewis. He is a no-nonsense, tough cop, and he's the first to tell you that. He's also the first to ask for your help, and he does ask for your help. Each one of you can be helpful. Crime is a problem in Santa Clarita. Whatever awesome town you live in, it's got crime. He will come if you put a group together, 5 people at your house. He'll come and talk to you. He is very serious. He is he's by the book. Full disclosure: I sit on the Sheriff's Foundation Board of Directors, and we get all the stats. We get the truth, and things are tough. One other thing I'd like to mention is that last week, a week ago Friday, at the college, we had a domestic violence summit. We had some very heavy speakers, and it's a problem in Santa Clarita. It continues to be a problem, and there is another summit this Friday on human trafficking. You mentioned that. And it is a problem in Santa Clarita. So, if you're available, come to the college, 8:30 Friday morning, and it is free. Both of them were free. And the place was packed of people who are either in the business of anti-domestic violence or victims of, and we had a lot of people who were victims that talked about it. So I invite you. It's free. Come and see us.
Okay.
One question. When was Jake's Way annexed into the city? Do you know?
What?
Jake's Way? Can you hear me?
When it was?
When was Jake's Way annexed into the city? Do you know? I don't remember.
Yeah, it was just after the election of Tim Ben on the council, because it wasn't Jake's Way wasn't in the city when he.
Frank Ferry was still on the council when
Yeah.
Jake's Way was annexed.
Yeah, if you remember the statement of Lori Ender about Jake's Way when she ran, and it wasn't. They were talking about annexing at that time, so that would make it about 16 would make it about 2012, 13. right in there. Okay. So there's the public safety resolution. They're going to go back to, they said, oh, the city of Whitaker is supporting it, so I guess that's something. Create a task force to report on the unintended negative impacts of the recent policy changes. And work with the League of Cities. So there you are.